Hello everybody, this is Daniel from fitnessblender.com, and today I'm going to be taking you through a lower body specific Tabata style routine. So Tabata is a 20 seconds on and 10 seconds rest, alternating back and forth. It's an interval style. So what we're going to be doing is we have 10 different exercises to go through. We're going to be doing each one in groups of 2. So we have 2 different exercises. We're moving back and forth between in an A-B format. So 2 sets of each exercise per group, and then we're going to move to the next group, just kind of work our way down the line. So before we get into that though, we're going to be doing a little bit of a warm-up. Now for this whole routine, you're not going to need any equipment whatsoever. You're just going to need your own body weight. If you want to make it a little bit more difficult, you can always use a little extra weight by holding something like a medicine ball or a dumbbell. Just some kind of extra weight, even a weighted vest would actually work pretty well also. This is also a low impact workout, so there's no jumping. This is actually relatively nice on their knees other than a few deep knee bends and stuff like that. But you can always limit the range of motion as you need to. So let's go ahead and get started with our warm up. Now what we want to do is really focus on just those lower body muscles because those are the ones we're going to be using the most. So let's focus on those legs first. We're going to start with a high knee march, nice and slow. Just drive that knee up nice and high, slowly back down. Same thing on the other side, just back and forth. Nice slow motion. Really focus on range of motion with this one. So start with a little bit limited range of motion and then start working a little bit more into that range of motion as you can, as those joints start warming up, as those muscles start warming up. So really try to pull that knee up as high as you can, at least hip height, higher if possible. Just a few more. Just keep those lungs open, make sure you're not holding your breath. If you want to, keep those muscles through your core and your upper body slightly tensed just to help warm that body up a little bit more and get a little bit more blood flowing around. And let that one relax. We're going to do a nice big circular motion with that knee this time, so it's going to come in across, out to the side. Same thing with the other leg. In across, out to the side, really open up that hip joint. So nice, slow, controlled motion. Again, you can start with a smaller range of motion at first if you want, or if it feels more comfortable, but then start slowly trying to increase that range of motion more and more as you do more and more repetitions. Just a few more through. And let that relax. We're going to do just a nice regular deep squat. So feet just about shoulder width apart. Feet facing relatively straight forward. Nice and slow. Squat down as low as is comfortable. Right back up. Again, limit that range of motion if you need to at first. Or if you have bad knees or bad hips, you can always limit that range of motion to just whatever you're comfortable with. Keep those lungs open. Nice full range of motion. Start trying to push that range of motion a little bit more if you can. Even though you're not using any weight with this one, make sure you keep that back nice and flat. And let that one relax. Keep that torso really nice and straight, rib cage locked into those hips, only bending at those hips. You're going to rotate it down, pause the bottom, back around, nice big full range of motion. Pause the bottom again. Rotate back the opposite direction. Just keep alternating back and forth again, keeping those lungs open. Trying to work those hips as much as you can. Really open up that hip joint. Make those muscles all the way around that hip joint. Start waking up a little bit. Those hip flexors, inside, outside thigh, and glutes. Just keep that motion going. Just a few more through. Really try to push that range of motion. And let that one relax. Go and stand back up nice and straight and tall. One leg out at a time. You're going to reach forward like you're trying to touch that toe. Just alternating back and forth. Again, start with a limited range of motion if you need to. Increase as you can. Relatively slow motion. You don't want to kick your leg up. You want to slowly raise your leg. Make those muscles really have to work for this. Really reach down towards that foot. If you can't reach that toe, that's perfectly fine. Try to get that leg up as high as you can without bending that knee. Almost done. And let it relax. Back straight forward again. Feet a little bit wider this time, so maybe twice shoulder width apart or so. We're gonna do a nice circular motion with those hips. So you're gonna drop off down to the left, scoop down through the middle, up across the right, back to the center, and then reverse the direction. Again, just trying to warm up those hips, warm up those legs. Trying to focus on those quadriceps, a little bit in those hamstrings too. Again, keep those lungs open. Nice full range of motion as much as you can. This is our last one. And let it relax. All right, that's the end of our warm-up. Let's go ahead and get started with this low impact torture. All right, everybody, this is a Tabata style workout, which means we're doing 20 seconds on and 10 seconds off per exercise. We're doing it in an A-B format, so we have 2 different exercises. We're moving back and forth between 2 sets of each. Then we move to the next group of 2, and we've got 10 exercises total, which means we have 5 different groups to go through. So our first group is going to be a side step squat. So we're gonna be staying nice and low, just stepping back and forth. It's gonna hurt like crazy, but it's gonna be a good one for those legs. And the other one is going to be a hip raise. So laying flat on your back and lifting those hips up as high as you possibly can. So I'll try to explain the rest of them as quickly as I can as we go through this, because all you're gonna get is that 10-second break to move from one group to the next. But you're not gonna need any equipment, so you should be able to move back and forth between these exercises pretty easily. So let me get my timer going here. Like I said, first one is going to be a step squat, a side step squat. So start down nice and low, go ahead, start up, squat, back and forth. Just staying nice and low the entire time. Try to work into a larger and larger step as you go back and forth. If it's comfortable for those hips and knees, otherwise just stay really nice and narrow. Almost done. And let it relax, go drop down on your back. Hands down nice and wide or above those shoulders. And press those hips up nice and high. Squeeze them really, really tight. Use those glutes and hamstrings. Back down, small hover, or right back up. Tight, tight squeeze every single time. Make sure your weight is in your heels. And back up. And another round of each one of those. Starting back with those squats first. Just going to drop down nice and low and step back and forth. Try to keep that back nice and flat. Keeping those hips down nice and low. Just as low as is comfortable. Just keep those lungs open. Keep moving. And let it relax back down on your back. Hands straight up for the harder version. Weight in your heels, press those hips up nice and high, squeeze as tight as you can at the top. Keep those lungs open. And go ahead and stand back up. We've got a 20-second squat coming up next and a deadlift. So 20-second squat is 10 seconds down, 10 seconds up. 1 repetition, so start up. Nice and slow, just very slowly sink. Nice flat back. And that is the bottom right there. Start on your way back up. Nice, slow, controlled motion. I know those legs are probably burning. And let it relax. So deadlift is next. Doing a straight leg deadlift, so keep those legs nice and straight, about shoulder width apart. Arms over your head for a little extra resistance, a little extra leverage. And straight over forward, down as far as you can go. And right back up. You want to keep those knees slightly bent, just a tiny, tiny bend in that knee. You never want to lock them out completely. And let that one relax. All right, we're doing another 20-second squat, 10 seconds down, 10 seconds back up. And start it nice and slow down. It's a nice, slow, controlled motion. Weight evenly dispersed between your heel and your toe. Angle of your shin and chest as close to the same as possible. Back up. And let that relax. Back to that deadlift. Feet shoulder width apart. Legs almost completely straight. Tiny bit of a bend. Arms over your head for a little more leverage. If you want to make this one harder, go grab a weight for it. Holding a dumbbell or a medicine ball in those hands makes this exercise much more difficult. Nice, slow, controlled motion. And let it relax. All right, let's move on to our next group of two. Got a front leg raise on both sides. We're just switching back and forth between the two. So nice and straight and tall. Keep that torso straight up. One leg at a time. Lift it straight up and back down. If you want to make it a little bit easier, then you bend that knee up and back down. Next hardest is bent up, extend straight at the top, and then drop. But if you can, just keep that leg extended straight the whole time. And switch sides. Need a little bit of a break here. All right, over that other leg. Get ready and start it. Straight up if you can. Remember, you can bend that knee and just pull it straight up and back down for the easier version. Next easiest version is bent up, straight down. Just keep that motion going. Try to keep that torso straight up and down as best you can. Lifting that leg up as high as you possibly can each time. And let it relax. We're going to switch back over that other leg. And start up. Nice and slow up. Nice and slow down. Keep those lungs open. And switch sides. Kind of shake those legs out a little bit, give them a little bit of a rest. Same thing on the other side. And start it. Nice high squeeze, using just the muscles to the front of that hip to raise that leg. That quadriceps can be nice and tight to keep that leg straight. Try not to lean back to get that leg up there. You want to keep that torso perfectly straight up and down. And go ahead and let that relax. We're going to move into that next group here in just a second. The next one's going to be a side leg raise. So bring that leg up and out to the side on each one. Kind of same style we did with that front leg raise. So same thing, starting over with that leg, bring it up and out to the side. Pause at the bottom, and right back up again. Tight, tight squeeze. Try to keep that torso as straight up as you can. You're going to want to lean over sideways, but try not to. You just want to keep it straight up and down. And let that leg relax for a second. We're going to switch sides. Same thing on the other side. And start up. Nice high squeeze. Keep that toe pointing straight forward. Don't let it open up to the side. Otherwise, you're going to be trying to use your hip flexor again. So try to keep that toe pointing straight forward. Torso straight up and down as best you can. Go ahead and let it relax. We got one more on each leg. And start again. All right, toe pointing forward, torso as straight up and down as you can. And let that relax. Got one more on the other side. Keep those lungs open, shake those legs out if you need to. Get ready. And start up. Up and out to the side as high as you can. Try to keep that torso straight. And let that relax. All right, let's go to our last group here. It's going to be a side lunge, and we're going to be doing a sumo squat with that. So side lunge, get those feet out really nice and wide. Actually, we're gonna start up straight. Out to the side, keep that inside leg straight. Each time you go down, you wanna keep that center leg out fully extended. All that weight's just on that outside leg, or as much of it as you can, shift that outside leg. And go ahead and let it relax. Let those legs walk off for a second. We're doing a sumo squat next, so feet as wide apart as is comfortable. Toes or foot in line with that thigh. You're just gonna drop down as low as you can. Back up. Don't lock those knees. Keep a little bit of a bend in that knee. Right back down again. Should feel a little bit of a stretch to the inside of that thigh, kind of limiting your range of motion a little bit. But just push it as far as it's comfortable. And let it relax. Go and stand back up. Got another round of those side lunges. So starting in the center, stepping off to each side, alternating. And start it up. So this is really nice low impact on those knees, even though you're kind of doing a step and a drop. As long as you move really nice and slow and take a long time to slow that down, that recoil, and let it relax, then it should be fine on those knees. All right, one more round of those sumo squats. Feet nice and wide. And start up. Squat down nice and low. Right back up, a little bit of bend in that knee. Back down again. Remember, just get down as low as you can. Try to keep that foot in line with that thigh. Try not to let it turn in too much or turn out too much. And let it relax. All right, go ahead and take a bit of a break. Get a drink of water if you want one. We're gonna take just a few seconds, and then we're gonna come back in and give you a nice little added bonus on those core muscles. So target those abs as well as the rest of those core muscles. All right, we've got our core section coming up next. So this one's gonna be working on everything around that core, those abs, those obliques, that lower back, as well as a few other exercises we're gonna be focusing on. So what we're gonna be doing again is another Tabata style. So 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, exactly like we just did in 3 groups this time of 2 different exercises, working back and forth, A, B, A, B. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Our first exercise is going to be a crisscross crunch and then a side hip raise on the left side. So laying flat on your back for that crisscross crunch. One leg out, crunch up to that knee, and switch back and forth. Make sure you don't bring that knee in past that hip joint, just alternating back and forth. If you want to make it easier, go ahead and pull that knee all the way in. But the hardest version is trying to crunch up to that knee rather than bringing that knee back to that elbow. Go ahead and let it relax. We've got that side hip raise next on your left side. So you're going to lay on your left side, left arm down to the ground. Either full extension on those legs, bring it all the way up, or you can bend those knees and just come up off of those knees. Just lifting those hips as high as you possibly can, working those obliques as well as that outside thigh again. Let's keep that motion going, keep those lungs open. And let it relax, drop back onto your back. Again for that crisscross crunch, working that hip flexor, quadricep, and those abs. One leg out, one leg up. Crunch up to that knee, and switching back and forth. Just keep those lungs open, keep those knees out away from you for that hardest version. Almost done. Go ahead and let it relax. Back onto that left side, that side hip raise. Legs out, nice full extension for that hardest version. And start up. This is the last round of this group. We've got a prone leg curl, so laying flat on your stomach, and the side hip raise for the other side for this next round, this next group. And let it relax. Whew. Gets a good burn going on those obliques. So laying face down, Those hands can either be on the ground or up for the harder version. You're gonna try to peel those thighs up off the ground and squeeze those heels in nice and tight. Back out and squeeze those heels in. Try to keep those thighs up off the ground to make those glutes and lower back have to work harder. It's a nice, slow, controlled motion. And let it relax. All right, over to the right side. Do that side hip raise. Full extension out those arms, or those legs, excuse me. Start them up. Just keep that motion going. Again, if you need the easier version, you can drop down onto those knees. And let that relax. All right, back over onto that stomach. Chest arched up just a little bit for the harder version. Thighs up off the ground. And curl those heels in nice and tight. Keep those lungs open. Squeeze those glutes. Keep those thighs up as high as you can. And let it relax. Back that side hip raise. Nice full extension. And start it up. All right, so this is the last exercise of this group, which means we're going on to our next group for this next one, which is going to be a Jackknife Crunch and a Russian twist. Just keep this motion going, lifting those hips as high as you can. Squeeze that glute, or sorry, through the oblique and the outside thigh. And let it relax. I'm gonna spin around here. Flat out on your back for that Jackknife Crunch. Arms up over your head. Legs out fully extended. And start it. Crunch it up. Back down. Keep that lower back pressing against that mat as best you can. Keep those arms and legs hovering. Perfectly straight. And then at the top of that range of motion, crunch up towards those toes. And let that one relax. Sit up on your tailbone. Russian twist is next. Flat back, arms in front of your chest. And rotate. As far as you can to the left, as far as you can to the right. The further you lean back, the more you're gonna have to kick those legs out for counterbalance. If you wanna make it really hard, get those feet hovering. Whew. But remember, keep that lower back pulled up underneath you so you have a nice straight, flat back. And let that one relax. Back to that full Jackknife Crunch. Arms and legs out fully extended. Push that lower back down to the ground and crunch it up. Keep those lungs open. Keep those legs as straight as you can. If you need to, you can bend those knees for an easier version. Ouch. Let it relax. Back up on that tailbone for that Russian twist. It's our last one. Nice flat back. Arms out in front of your chest. And rotate. For an easier version, sit up nice and straight. The further you lean back, the harder it's going to be. Once you lift those feet up, it just makes it that much more difficult. Those abs, obliques, hip flexors, and quadriceps all have to work to help you keep balance. Whew. And let it relax. All right, that is the end of our workout, which means all we have left to do is a little bit of a cool down. So we're working those legs, so that's what we want to focus on for our cool down. So that's what we're going to hit first. So let's kick that leg out, one leg out to the side, other leg's going to tuck in really nice and close. Reach down towards that foot with that same arm as leg. Open that chest up, hand over top of your head, stretch down and hold it. If you can't touch that foot, that's perfectly fine. Just reach down towards your ankle, under your shin or knee, wherever you can get to. But keep that chest open to the side as far as you can. Don't roll over down towards that leg. Open it up. Should feel stretch through the outside of that torso, as well as through the hamstring of the leg you have straight. And we do the same thing on the other side. So tuck that leg in, flip over to the other side. Keep that chest open, and lean over sideways. Keep those lungs open, breathing normally. And let that relax. Switch those legs to regular toe touch. So sitting nice and straight and tall, try to keep those legs as straight as you can. Depending on how tight your hamstrings are, they might bend on you no matter what, but try to keep them as straight as you can. Go ahead and round that back over. You're going to stretch down towards those toes, those ankles. Just get as far down as you can, as far as it's comfortable. You should feel a little bit of stretch through the back of that hamstring. Once you feel that stretch, then you can tuck your chin around your shoulders, see if you can get to intensifying those hamstrings as well as tighten up in your back just a little bit. So just round that chin over. Again, just keep those lungs open, breathing normally. If you want to get a little extra stretch, flex those toes in towards you. And then nice and slow, stretch down towards those legs a little bit more if you can. The longer you hold this, the more your body should become limber, so you should be able to get a little extra range of motion. So always constantly trying to push to that maximum range of motion as long as you're comfortable. Never ever push into a stretch to the point where it really, really hurts. A little tiny bit of pain, a little stretch pain is fine. A lot of stretch pain where it actually starts feeling like a burn, that's too much. You've gone too far. And go ahead and let that relax. Bring both those feet in really nice and close together. So soles of those feet together. Squeeze them in towards you as close as you can. Sitting up nice and straight and tall, you can grab hold of those feet or just have those hands wherever. It doesn't really matter. You want to focus on the outside of that thigh, pulling that knee down towards the ground as tightly as you possibly can. Should feel the stretch to the inside of your thigh, inside of that groin just a little bit. Just keep that back nice and flat. Pulling those knees down, using those outside thighs. Just keep pushing into it. You never really need to push on those knees with your hands to get an extra stretch. You should have enough strength in that outside thigh to get more than enough stretch than you need. The harder you flex, the more stretch you're going to get out of it. So just keep pushing it as hard as you can. And that'll also, it's an active stretch, it'll also make sure you protect that joint no matter how flexible you get. And let that relax. I'm going to scoot those feet forward just a little bit. So scoot those feet out by about a foot or foot and a half or so. Chest nice and straight and tall. Lean straight forward over those legs. You can pull yourself down with those feet and those arms if you want to, but try to use the muscles to your hip and in your abdominal muscles to tilt yourself forward. You're trying to bring those hips forward rather than crunching forward over. So try to keep that back flat. Just lean forward as much as you can, using those muscles again through those hips to pull those hips forward, pull that torso forward, kind of locking your upper body and your hips together. So you don't want to bend over, you want actually hips and chest lean at the same time. Should feel this down inside your hip socket, kind of inside that hip joint. And let that relax, go lay flat on your back. One leg over top of the other, so just kind of crossing over top. Grab behind the thigh and squeeze it in as close as is comfortable. Should feel a stretch on the opposite leg that you're holding onto. So the leg that you have crossed over top, you're going to feel it in the glute of that leg. Just keep pulling it in as close as is comfortable. Keep those lungs open. As that leg starts to limber up a little bit, get a little bit more range of motion, just keep pulling into it as far as is comfortable. Try to keep kind of a consistent feel of that stretch. Switch sides. Other leg comes up over top, same position. Grab behind that thigh again and squeeze in. This time you're feeling it on that opposite side. So again, the leg that's crossed over top, you're feeling it in the glute of that leg. Just keep pulling it in nice and tight. Keep those lungs open. Just try to relax as much as you can. And let that relax. Bring those knees together. You're going to lay them over to the side as far as you possibly can. Leaning or looking your head and your shoulders off the opposite direction. Keep those shoulders down on the ground. Don't let those shoulders roll up, so you keep those shoulders on the ground. So if those knees don't quite touch, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure those shoulders stay plastered against that mat. And same thing in the other direction. Drop those knees off, look off in the other direction, keeping those shoulders down, flat against that mat. And just keep those lungs open and relax. Nice, big, full, deep breath. Try to get as much of a stretch of that torso as you can. And let it relax. We're going to flip you over into your stomach. Hands down by the base of your rib cage. Nice and slow. Press in to that palm of your hand, arching up really nice and high. Pressing those hands, shoulders down away from those ears. Really flexing, stretching through the front of that chest and torso, so you should feel this quite a bit through those abs. Might even feel it a little bit into that hip flexor, the front of that hip. Nice and slow back down. Sit back into those heels. Hands down by those knees. And you press your hands down to that mat, rolling those shoulders back towards those hips. Really round that back as much as you can. And let it relax. All right, that is it. This workout is complete. I hope those legs are feeling a little bit shaky. If they're not, next time use a little extra weight. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.